Okay, everybody, we are going to get started here with talking about how you can use doTERRA as a amazing tax benefit for yourself, and also maybe how to keep yourself out of trouble with taxes with your doTERRA business as well. So first of all, we can see doTERRA as a hobby, and we can do it part-time, and we can not make any money on it, and we can tell a lot of people about it, or we can see it as a business. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the differences between a business and a hobby, because the IRS will treat your business like a hobby as well, and not allow you to have those tax benefits after about 4 years if you're not earning an income. So you need to make sure that you're doing some of these activities that are going to help your business to grow so that you can earn that income. So number one, if you have not done this yet, I don't care where you're at in your doTERRA business, make sure that you have a separate checking and a savings account with your business name on it. And that's really important from a business perspective. And also, when I start talking about LLCs, it's really important from a perspective of protecting yourself as well. So make sure that you get those separate checking and savings accounts. And with your doTERRA, I don't have that on there, but you want to get a direct deposit. You can go onto doTERRA under our advocates, and you can look under forms, and there's a direct deposit form under there. You have to send it in snail mail with your check stub, and then those checks are going to go directly into your checking account. The reason that you want to do that is because sometimes checks are slow when they come in the mail, and they also look like a piece of junk mail, and some people end up throwing them away. And we don't want anybody doing that as well. So do the direct deposit. For instance, at Christmas, I had my money deposited in my account on the 17th of December. And some people actually did not get their checks until after Christmas. And they were hoping for that money to get Christmas gifts. So direct deposit is important. Also have a credit card that is dedicated just to your doTERRA business. This is where you're going to buy your oils. This is where you're going to buy all of your business building materials, anything you're going to be using, so that everything is right in one place on that card. And then you also want to find a separate space in your home that's for business only activities. If you can have, or your RV. Sorry, Karen, don't mean to leave you out on this. So find a space that is your business only activity, because then you can actually take off that portion of your home on your taxes. Like, let's say 10% of your home is used for your business. You can take off 10% of your mortgage as a tax deduction. Also, you want to dedicate, this is not for taxes, but this is for your doTERRA business, because you can treat your business like a hobby and just hope that people fall into your lap and just every once in a while talk to people about oils, or you can actually dedicate those hours every single week for your doTERRA activities. You can say, these are my work hours and this is my job. So I love my job, and my job allows me to travel and be with my friends and spend time with my husband and have financial freedom and do all of the things I wanted to do, but I still work really hard. But I work really hard at something that I love to do. And if I didn't dedicate those set hours, I would not be able to strategize and do the things that I want to do in my business. So for you, if that's 5 hours, set aside those 5 hours and work those 5 hours for your business. If it's 20 hours, set aside those 20 hours and work those for your business. Don't just hope that this business is going to work. The other thing that is really good, not only from your perspective, but from a tax perspective, is to pay yourself out of your monthly earnings. So that means, you know, if you get a check for $1,000 from doTERRA, you're going to put $500 back into your home checking or your savings account, and you're paying yourself out of your business. If you make $100 a month, you know, if you can put some of that into your home and pay some of your living expenses, that's great. I know that some of you are just like, hey, if I can just get my oils for free, you know, that would be awesome. And that's an awesome place to start as well. But when you start earning more money, make sure that you do pay yourself. Now, here's what we're talking about, getting an LLC, an S Corp, or a C Corp. You want to do your taxes separately, especially when you start making a good amount of money with doTERRA. You definitely do not want to file your doTERRA earnings with your personal expenses. So when you start, or excuse me, with your personal taxes. So when you start earning money with doTERRA, you're going to want to form your own LLC. And I have heard it said that if you're making $2,000 a month with doTERRA, you should have an LLC. But I think that you should do it even sooner than that, because what an LLC is the limited liability corporation. And we live in a litigious society. Okay, so you're driving down the road and you have a sign that says doTERRA on the back of your vehicle, and you rear end someone, unfortunately, and everybody's okay and everything else. Well, you know what? If they realize, hey, that's a doTERRA person and they might have a little bit of money, all of a sudden, maybe the next day they have a really bad neck ache. You know what I mean? And they might try to come after you. And if that happens, then if you are not incorporated, they can actually sue you, and they can take away your house, your car, everything that's in your bank accounts and everything else. If you are incorporated, the only thing that they can go after is what is in your business accounts. And this is another reason why you want to pay yourself out of that business account and keep that business account really separate from the other stuff that you have. So they cannot come after personal assets. Now, I put this in here, form a Wyoming LLC. This is hilarious, you guys, and I did not know this till last week, that Wyoming is the best state in the nation to have an LLC. And it's because we have the most protection for us from a litigious society. Our LLC in Wyoming protects us more than any other state. It's also the cheapest place to get an LLC, and people from all over the nation, huge companies and business corporations, have LLCs right here in Wyoming, even though they are not from Wyoming. They can use an entity, it's called an LLC entity, and they build their business through the LLC in Wyoming, which I think is amazing. So even if you do not live in this state, you're not a resident, you can get a Wyoming LLC for $50. That is crazy compared to some other places. I get charged $50 every year to keep my LLC. And I've had it for 15 years. I originally had it when I was a life coach. So it was for my Freedom Steps life coaching business. And then I changed it to Freedom Drops Essential Oils. And they charged me $50 to change the name, and I still have my same LLC. So make sure that you're incorporating, especially if you're seeing doTERRA as a business. Now, I'm going to be really, really honest here and tell you that I really do not know the benefits of an S Corp or a C Corp. But when you start to have employees, especially, you're going to want to look into getting either an S Corp or a C Corp. I know people in doTERRA who are making $150,000 a month, and they work under an LLC, and they are perfectly fine with that. They have not incorporated their businesses any other way. So if you're really interested in looking into the benefits of those, I would ask an accountant or somebody in the know about those, but those are also two other options. Okay, so is there any questions before we go forward?
I have one. Kathy, do you know, so do you have to conduct business in Wyoming as well? I mean, like,
Nope.
yeah, I mean, do you have to have an address for the state of Wyoming?
Nope, you do not. You do not.
Yeah.
So on my business page about, well, it was on December 24th when I posted it, there is a Zoom call from a business teaching organization, and it's from an accountant, and he actually talks about how important it is to have a Wyoming LLC. So if you go back and you listen to that call from December 24th, it's on my business page. He explains it really, really well.
Okay.
Okay,
great.
so something that you'd be super important, you know, just like you guys, since you're nomads, basically, you find the best place where you can get your license plates and things like that. Right?
Yeah,
so
right.
That's like where, you know, businesses and corporations can come here, and best place to get their LLCs.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I was really proud to be from Wyoming when I was on that call. It was awesome. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so keeping good records, this is vital. You want to itemize and keep everything that you possibly can. This is an envelope full of stuff from my 2017 taxes. So you can see how thick it is. There are tons of receipts in here, but guess what? That's not the only one. I have another one as well. So I have all of my receipts in here. Not that an accountant is ever going to need to see these, but if I ever get audited, I have to have accounts for those records so that I can go back and prove that the numbers that I'm actually putting on my tax form match. So keep every single receipt. I am not kidding you. Every single receipt that you can think of. Every meal that you go to lunch with a friend and you tell them, hey, I'm in doTERRA now and would love to talk to you about this. Here's a sample. Boom. You can now write off that meal. If you go to coffee with a friend, any of your office expenses, everything that you have now that is even remotely involved with your business, even if you mention doTERRA at a meal, you can write off that expense. For me, I go to Arizona a lot because I've got family down there. I go to Montana a lot because I've got family up there. Well, guess what? My daughter's a wellness advocate. My parents are wellness advocates. Every trip that I take is a business expense because I do classes when I go up and I visit them. So it's a great way. If you've got family that's on board with you, use that mileage, use those plane trips, use all those meals that you go out when you're on those trips, and it all is a write-off. Does that sound awesome? Like every time you go out to lunch? Now, don't abuse the system. You know, I know that we can go overboard on this as well, but it's pretty incredible what we can do. And then, of course, all your travel expenses. So I went to the Boston Marathon with my family. I did not use that as a business expense. I did not have a class there. That was a pleasure trip. But any of the other stuff that I do, all of the time is going to be a business expense. And your mileage is, what do we get for mileage? Isn't it like 51? Does anyone know that? 51 cents per mile?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
It adds up huge. So if you travel 10,000 miles, that's $5,000 back on your expenses, you guys. It's pretty impressive when you start to add up those miles. So your receipts for your conferences, for your trainings, keep all of that. All of your shipping and your postage costs. So every time you order something, it's at least $3.99. Some of us pay $6.99. I pay $3.99. Every time I mail something to somebody, I keep all of those receipts, and that is postage. That's a tax deduction. Your business building materials. So when you're buying live guides, when you're buying product guides, when you're buying rollerballs to do rollerball classes, all of that stuff is materials that you are going to use for your classes. It's all a write-off. And all of the percentage of your home, remember I just said have a dedicated place where you can do your business. Write that off. Now, our home is paid for, so I don't get that write-off anymore. But those of you who are still paying, in fact, I don't know what our taxes are going to look like this year without writing off our house. But I do know, too, that as of January, and if somebody knows this better than me, please chime in here a little bit. But in January, there was some legislation that instead of taking $12,000 as a standardized deduction, we can now take $20,000.
Wow.
Anybody? Yes, I mean, it's a lot more this year when you have a business. So it's going to be, and you know, that's why I started using an accountant last year. My husband Scott finally said, no, this is getting way above me, way too complicated. So we finally went to an accountant last year, and it was very, very helpful. Okay, and then also, you can also write off a percentage of your oil purchases that are used for business purposes. So because you have to place a $100 or a 100 PV order every month in order to get your commission from doTERRA, you can write off $100 per month. So $12,000, or excuse me, $1,200 can be written off as a business expense. And then, of course, if you go above and beyond that, doing classes and samples and all that kind of stuff, it's really hard to determine this, but you all know that a percentage of the oils that you use, you give away. So as good of an estimate as you can give. Any other questions on records and itemizing?
I have a question. Sorry. Kathy?
Yes.
What about your electronic purchases? Do you print those receipts, or do you do? Okay.
Oh yeah, I do personally, but there's apps that you can use, and there's things on your computer that you can actually put those electronic receipts into a file if you prefer to do that. There's all kinds of different ways. I'm still a paper person, but there's a lot of people who keep electronic records. So if you do like QuickBooks, or I know that there's some other apps where you can actually just take a picture of your receipt, and those pictures actually stay in the receipt, and you can add those up as you go throughout the month. So there's some really cool stuff out there that kind of keeps us in track, in line. Was there another question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can take off your phone too.
Yes. Phone, internet. What else, guys? Like,
do you do a percentage on your phone and internet, or just having it?
This guy, I'd say almost 100%, except if I call my mom, and guess what? My mom is even a wellness advocate. So almost 100% of what I do is on my phone. But Kelly and Adam and Scott are also on our phone thing. So yes, we do take a percentage of it just for mine, what I do. If you buy a new computer, any kind of those electronics. If you buy a new car and are paying on it and you have a doTERRA sticker on it, a percentage of your car payments can be written off.
Question.
So, yes.
Even if you don't have a LLC account yet, can you still do all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. It goes on your personal taxes, and what you're going to be deducting, actually your business and your personal stuff kind of go into one, and it will get deducted off of everything altogether.
Okay.
But it gets kind of sticky when you start making more money. So that's why I'm saying, you know, when you get up to like silver and above, you're making $1,000 or more a month. You really want to separate those two things out to protect yourself, for one thing, but also from the IRS perspective, they're like, oh girl, that's not good. Okay.
Okay.
And you may also get asked this question from people who, like, every once in a while they get a check, but you know, maybe it's for $12 and then they make $30 here. doTERRA will not send out a 1099 unless you make over $600. That's kind of across the board. That's what taxes is. So if you have a little job somewhere and you don't make over $600, you will not have to pay any taxes on it.
You're talking federal.
Yes, yeah. I don't pay state taxes. We don't pay state taxes in Wyoming. So if that's another gray area for me. I really don't know, you know, how that works for other states.
Well, it sounds like a plus for us. Well, for me, you know, to have an LLC out of Wyoming, because then I wouldn't have to pay state taxes on.
Where are you? There you are. You're really smart. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's get you making some money first, Karen.
Yeah, right.
I know you're a futurist like me. You're like, I see it. I see it. Okay. Any other questions before we moved on? Okay. So this is, and some of you are spreadsheet people, some of you aren't spreadsheet people, some of you are pen and paper people, some of you are, you know, I'll keep it on my phone on an app kind of people. Whatever works well for you, but this is what I do. And it keeps my monthly expenses in track. And then I just started this one today for my 2019 taxes. So I want to put in there these columns: an oil expense, what my income was actually from doTERRA, and then all of my other expenses throughout the month. And then I can come up with my net income of what I made that month. And if you actually don't know what you're making every month, it's going to be a really kind of a gray, sticky area for you, because you don't realize where you need to cut back and where you need to pick up on stuff to actually have more of an income. So this is a really good way to kind of monthly keep track of where you're at. It's not a perfect system at all, but it really does help at the end of the year just to add up this, you know, what was my net income column, how much did I spend on travel, how much did I spend on meals, and then this really is the only thing that needs to go to my accountant. My accountant does not want my receipts, believe me. If you bring in a shoebox full of receipts to your accountant, it is going to cost you a buku bunch of money, because it takes them a bunch of time to do that. So have your ducks in a row when you get in there, and it doesn't take nearly as much. I think for our personal taxes and business taxes last year, and it was the first year we used this guy, so it was a little bit more involved for him. It was $600, which was worth it. It was very worth it for my husband because he didn't spend hours and hours and hours putting these things together. So you can do it yourself if you want to, but we've really chosen now to use an accountant. Okay, so just having a nice little spreadsheet like this is a really good way to keep yourself on track.
And Kathy, when you do those accountants too, isn't that the next year you can write it off or something?
Yes, absolutely.
The expenses of it?
Yep. You write off what you pay the accountant. And here's the other thing. Now, you guys, I think that the average, it's a crazy number, like 0.01% of people ever get audited. Now, don't use that as an excuse to cheat on your taxes. But if there are red flags with multi-level marketers, the percentage is much higher than that. And there are certain red flags on your tax account, on your tax returns, that are red flags for the IRS to put you into that higher category to do an audit. So that's another thing that your accountant will help you with, is showing you what those red flags are so that you can stay away from those. What's the other thing that I was going to say? Oh, with an accountant, in the rare event that you ever would get audited, when you use an accredited accountant, they have to go through the audit with you. So you're not on your own. So that is another really, really good reason to have an accountant. That's one of the things you pay for with them. Okay, so other helpful tips: don't procrastinate. Don't file your taxes after the date, because you're going to get penalties and you're going to get fees. Just do the darn things, especially if you're getting money back. How long do you want the government to hold your money if you're getting it back? You don't, right? If you're paying in, file on April 15th, or whenever the file date is. But if you're getting money back, get those puppies in by March, because then you can put that in your account and use it for your family, and you can even make more money on that. Okay. Some people use an online tax software like QuickBooks or Quicken. That's perfectly fine as well. We've never done that because I've always found it hard to kind of keep up on that, but that is also another really good option. A lot of accountants, a lot of financial experts, a lot of lawyers, a lot of everybody poo-poos MLMs because it's stupid and it's not a real business, right?
Right.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
This is my job. And I really hate it when I get that attitude from people. We were at our financial planner back in November, and Scott and I were both really put off with her because she just made it sound like, well, when this thing falls through, what are you guys going to do? And I was like, whoa, that's never been my attitude. And if that's your attitude as my financial planner, I don't know if I want you as my financial planner. Right. So you know, having an accountant who really understands MLMs and just isn't poo-pooing it, you know, and thinking like, you know, you're going to get audited or whatever. Just make sure that it's beneficial for you to have that accountant. And then use a good planner. It's called the dough planner. And I know it's already after the first of the year, so many of you have your planners already, but think about this for 2020. I'm already thinking a year ahead, talk about futuristic. But in the dough planner, it actually, you know, not only is it a really good planner, but it also helps you to plan out your month, and then for your business goals and everything else, and then it has an end of month so that you can go back and say, hey, what are the things that went right? What are the things that didn't go right? What do I want to do next month? How much time do I want to dedicate to my business? But it also has places for you to mark your mileage for the month and your supplies that you have through the month and those kind of things. So that all I have to do is go back into the month and look up those things right here in my my planner. I have them. So that is a super good option. You do need to keep your receipts for 5 years because they can come back and audit you even 5 years later. So make sure I am keeping these, you know, big bags of stuff for 5 years in case we ever do get audited. Let's see, when your business is making an income, you're going to want to, and I've already talked about this, but you're going to want to file your personal taxes separate from your business taxes. So I've got 2 envelopes here. You know, one is for our personal taxes from last year, and this is for our business taxes. And when you do see an accountant, they will definitely want you to verify the difference. Now, some of us have more than one business. Like I'm thinking about my friend who has a photography business and she's doing doTERRA. They will file separately for each one of those businesses as well. Oh, did I mention that you guys need to keep everything? Like everything. If you buy a pencil at the store, you keep that receipt. So even when, you know, when I go somewhere and I have to pay for parking, I keep those parking receipts. I keep everything because it really, really adds up. Last year, I want to say we were close to $27,000 that we wrote off. That's a pretty good chunk of change. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Okay, so.
Sorry, I have to go. The dogs are demanding I take them out. I'm sorry.
Oh, this is the part I wanted you to see, Karen. I'll have to call me when you get back, and I'll just talk to you about this one part.
Yeah, Dave's like, I have to go outside.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So some of you have seen this, some of you have not, but this is the average time that it takes to get to the rank according to how much time you're spending in your business. So to get to elite, if you're spending 8 hours a week in your business, you can probably get there in 6 months. Now, when we look down here at gold, if you're spending 35 hours a week, so almost a full-time job, it probably is on average is going to take you about 15 months to get to gold. Now, you know, if you're only spending 5 hours in your business and expect to be diamond in a year, it probably is not going to happen. So we just have to know that, you know, the more time that we can spend, that we can dedicate, that we can actually plan and put into our schedules, the sooner we're going to reach our goals. But also with doTERRA, it's you know, it just becomes part of who we are. So doTERRA is something that we can do along with what we're already doing as well. Planting seeds with people, giving samples out, using your oils around people, those kind of things are all business building activities as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. But think about, you know, some of these monthly incomes. And you know, we can look down here and we can say, well, yeah, that's a great goal to have, to make $110,000 a month. But the reality is that most of us are going to be in here, okay? So $1,000 a month is going to change a lot of people's lives. Like if you can make an extra $1,000 for your family, that's going to change your life. The reality is that in the leadership ranks in doTERRA, most people are in this area between $2,000 and $4,000 when you're in those leadership ranks. And it's doable. It's very, very doable, you know, to really get people on board, because people want these oils. And just like Sylvia said, you know, people are already starting to ask her about it just because she's getting started with it. So, you know, this is kind of all that I have for you guys today about the taxes, but definitely when you get up here, you want an accountant. I'm just saying, okay? So, is there any other questions before we take off tonight?
I'm good.
You guys good?
Yep. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Very
All right.
informative. It only solidified even more that was said from that other video, because that other one gave you quite a bit, because he was an accountant. And the one thing about being here in Wyoming, when you do it in Wyoming, all you have to do is have a registered whatever, that they're the
Registered
ones who will be
agent.
talking. Yeah, there you go. That they're the ones who are going to be the ones that are going to take care of any business that has to be paperwork that'll make sure it gets to you.
Exactly. So if you live in Florida, if you live in Michigan, and you want to start a Wyoming LLC, there are registered Wyoming agents where you can work through that agency to get your LLC, and it's really not very expensive.
Mm-mm. My nephew's thinking of doing it now out of Colorado, because I told him about it. He has, and so his wife is the one that's looking at doTERRA at this point. So
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, I have a rollerball class coming up on Monday. So if anybody wants to send people to the rollerball class or have your own class, please contact me. If you're not in the area, classes online are so much fun. So please, you guys, get a hold of me. I'm going to give everybody here a goal of having 2 classes per month, and just see what that does for your business over the next 5 years. Let's hope you're down in these categories down here. If you do that, just 2 classes a month and see what happens. All right, guys, take care. Happy New Year, and I hope to see y'all soon.